Hey guys, Philos here. This video is going to be on a beginner or entry-level Kridershot build. So, if you guys have been watching me on stream, you know I hadn't had one of these for a while. I've actually never had one drop myself, but anyways, finally stumbled upon one. So, this is basically just a build built around this one item. You don't really need everything else that I have going on. There's a lot of synergy with the items that I have to make it a lot stronger, but if you're just starting out and you find a Kridershot, this is going to start to work very early on with very few other items on the lower torments. So, Kridershot, if you're not familiar, it changes your elemental arrow into a generator. So the elemental arrow normally costs 10 hatred, but this makes it generate 4 hatred rather than costing. So that's pretty cool. It's going to help you with the resource situation and enable you to spam a lot more cluster arrows by having a heavy hitting generator. And the spec looks like this, very similar to, you know, some other variations, cycling builds and stuff like that. The difference here is going to be you're using Night Stalker to generate your discipline with the elemental arrow as well as the hatred, and the punishment is just kind of there for extra resources. You probably don't really need that. I'm just a really big fan of that, and there's not much else that you're going to put here that's going to do better than that. So, but if you need smokescreen or something, you could consider swapping that out. And you know, there's synergy with the Call of the Week and the Frost Arrow. So you have the Frost Arrow as a generator, proccing the snare, triggering the Call of the Week, giving you that damage amplify, and it's also doing really well to proc Night Stalker to generate discipline. And you got the Loaded for Bear for the damage, Grim Reaper for the damage spread and amplify, Vault for the mobility, and the companion. I run with the wolf. Even if you don't have, I do have the 4-piece marauder bonus here, so if you don't, you probably still want to run the wolf. Just going to be a little bit yet less utility out of this slot here, but the wolf is going to be good damage burst whenever you get on elites and things like that. So that's the spec, and I'll kind of show the gameplay. And one thing I want to mention, because I see a lot of people already, I mean, this is pretty standard cookie cutter type build. I see a lot of people running this already. And the one thing in terms of the gameplay that I noticed people don't do so much is rotating between the Frost Arrow and the Cluster Arrow. Because the Frost Arrow only slows for 1 second. So you only have like just around 2 attacks per second. So you kind of want to do Frost Arrow, Cluster, Cluster, Frost Arrow, Cluster, Cluster, back and forth like this to make sure that your clusters are always benefiting from the Call of the Week. The only exception is if you do have the Marauder bonus, whenever you use your active, the spider is going to snare them. The spider is going to snare them for 5 seconds, so it's going to give you a 5-second window that you can actually just kind of dump clusters straight away. But most of the time you want to go back and forth between the Frost Arrow and the Loaded for Bear. You know, like I said, I see a lot of people running with Kridershot and they're using Call of the Week and they just kind of spam Cluster Arrow and then cast a few. They use this like a standard generator. You don't want to use it like a generator, really. You want to use it just as a tool to trigger the Call of the Week. And quickly I'll mention, if you do have a Cinder Coat, you would want to run Trail of Cinders instead of Tumble. Doesn't make a big difference, but yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. So I'll go ahead and show the gameplay. We will kill a couple of elites and I will talk about the idea. Basically, you want to start with a couple Frost Arrows, get the Call of the Week out there, and then, you know, shoot a couple clusters and then back and forth, like I mentioned, rotating between the two. And when you get on the elite, you just want to start with the Mark for Death, then use the companion, and then you're in the position to kind of unload a few cluster arrows while they're snared from the spider, and then you have to return to the rotation. So 1 frost arrow, 2 clusters usually does pretty well. And it also maintains the resources. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Simple build, does really well early on. Very strong entry level build. Markham, Frost, a little bit of use our resources, and then we'll use the companion. Get the snare out, dump some clusters, and then back to the rotation. And as I mentioned, you know, getting discipline through the elemental arrow. So if you're low on discipline, just kind of find a big group of monsters and it generates pretty good discipline. Just take out this elite again. There you go, and that's the idea. There's the spec. Not one of the strongest builds, but it does start working with very little gear, and it is strong early on. Nice mid-tier to entry-level build. So that's it. One more quick look at the spec. Hope that helps you guys. Like I said, good entry level, mid-tier build based around the Kridershot. Thanks for watching. See you next time.